Property's had a bit of a troubled past, but all we saw was opportunity.
Mike, I'd like to turn to you first because this short really does feel like a labor of love from start to finish. And I mean, the journey of getting a new Friday the 13th anything off the ground seems like such an interesting one these days. How did the concept first come to you, and what was that journey like for you?
Oh yeah, it was interesting because I was actually in Colombia shooting this movie currently called Titan, and Sherry and the guys at Horror Inc., Rob and Robert, came to me and like, hey, we're looking for some ideas. We're gonna do a short film that's Jason, and look, we just want to see if you have any ideas. What is your take on this? And I was like, oh my god, like, so of course, like, you get horror royalty coming and falling in your lap, and you're like, okay, let's think about this. But it was very important to me that, like, if I did present an idea, it had to be something that, like, could push the story forward, could introduce something new, and I had to. It couldn't just be fan service. Like, it had to be something that, like, it had to be a story that, like, I was invested in and really wanted to take on and go with. And with my previous work, that's usually what I base it all on. Is like, is this something that's new, fresh, surprising, and it's something that I'd want to see. So, and then from then on, it was just, again, while I was in Colombia, this idea popped into my head, and I was like, oh, I don't want to make a movie that shows what Jason went through after he drowned and how he became Jason. I'm not interested in that. We've seen that happen with, like, the Texas Chainsaw movies and every character under the sun about how they got to where they got to. I kind of don't want to see that. What's so great about Jason, he's fucking mysterious. You know what I mean? And how that all happened. But what if we could see what happened to somebody else who maybe who undergoes something similar to what Jason went through, and and so it sort of became this weird, like, again, very short and, like, not a lot of time to jump into all the intricacies of how that works, but, like, what is like this weird body horror story look like for a character that kind of undergoes a transformation through this revenge-driven property in this lake, and dive into the sort of elements of what Friday the 13th are, seen through the eyes of another character. And that was, to me, like, my big push. And then it sort of became this sort of like, well, what is this sort of like, there's sort of like Bride adjacent thing going on here, and I'm kind of digging it. And that was the pitch, and that's what everybody at Horror Inc., Sherry and the Robs got really excited about, and we were off to the races. And then boom, we were, it was like writing it, pre-proing, shooting, boom, out, like, no time.
Well, it's incredible what you were able to pull off in that short amount of time, and I love the angle that you found on it. And Ally, I will turn to you next because you obviously have a history with short films as well, but I'm curious what it's like for you for this kind of character where she undergoes such an immense change within this 14-minute story. What that's like for you as an actor, really following that and embodying that scene to scene.
Yeah, it was really important to me that you understood Eve's transformation. And I think Mike and I talked about that a lot, about, like, making sure that I knew specifically, like, when certain things were happening, and, like, each sort of, like, level to it, because there are certain, like, levels to that, I guess, transformation, if you will. But yeah, it was just about, like, in the short amount of time we had, like, figuring out the levels of that. And then just giving it like 1,000% on the day, which is just how these movies go with any, like, sort of horror slasher genre thing. It really is just about, like, committing a 1,000,000% and just giving it your all. But yeah, it was so fun to, like, I feel like doing it in a short amount of time was really fun, like, when we shot it. Because yeah, it was just sort of like, playing, like, it's almost like playing two characters. It's like, playing this person who is, like, not able to trust their own instincts so unsure to someone who was like only instinct. So kind of like finding those two different Eves was so fun for me. I love both of them. Yeah, I had a blast.
And it makes for some really great parallels, like Mike was alluding to with Jason, in terms of they're both driven by this one instinct, and it's so fascinating to watch. Now, you talk about committing 100% or 1,000,000%, by the way, and this seems like quite the physical shoot for you as well. And I'd love to hear what that part of it was like, given, you know, you're dealing with Jason head on. The character at the very least is getting thrown through windows. I
didn't go through the window. My stunt double, my amazing stunt double, Karina, went through the window,
Karina.
and
God bless her.
Like it was nothing. Literally, like it was nothing. Yeah, I think especially because, you know, this really was like an indie project, and we just had the best stunt team. Like Skylar, who played Jason, is the stunt coordinator, and he is just like exactly the kind of person that you want for this. Like safety is number one. He's also just so skilled. He's worked on so many things. He's worked on so much horror stuff. And yeah, all of the stunt team, my stunt double, Karina, it was just always there, was always like, if you want me to step in, I can step in. Like having that means a lot. And obviously like Mike being just the nicest person ever. And everyone was just, it was a really fun, loving set. But yeah, I mean, I love doing stunts and I have had a lot of experience. So it's not something that really stresses me out. It's something that excites me. And I think that the physicality aspect of a performance is just as important as the inner life, especially for something like this. And I take all of those things very seriously, like, you know, coming out of the water, like this, all of it. I understand that those parts are some of the most important parts of it, and I'm just want to do my best and give it my all. But yeah, I definitely felt very safe, and that's always number one for sure.
Well, I'm glad that you had Mike and Skylar there to really make sure that you were safe, as well as Karina, your stunt double. But speaking of Skylar, then Mike, I'd like to turn to you next and ask, you know, finding the next Jason is a big deal. Even if they are going to be under a mask, it's still a big talking point. So I'd love to hear what that search was like for you, making sure you found someone who could embody the menacing physicality of him. But then, as Ally was just saying, is also great for the stunt coordinating side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of loved keeping it kind of all in the family. I'd worked with Skylar on other films in the past, and him and I had a really great rapport. So bringing him on as stunt coordinator was a no-brainer. And then when it came down to casting Jason, it was kind of like, oh shit! I mean, he's 6'5", you know, he's not a small dude. You know, he can do all these things safely. We can, you know, I mean, Ally had done a ton of stunts before. Natasha and Tim, who played Troy and Dana, were both stunt performers and actors who we brought on. And so, and they were, I mean, he was able to really just like get up in them and like slam them. And like Tim was able to really just hit the ground and like, and so I think with all those pieces together, it was kind of like, God, you know, he's got the demeanor. He understands, you know, he's a huge fan of Jason in the Friday the 13th movies. He understands what Jason is. And as soon as like he could kind of, we talked through things and seeing him move and talking about the ideas and how we sort of wanted him to be, because we didn't want him to be the big, like, he can't move his arms because he's so large, Jason. Wanted him to be a slight more nimble, but like still not a Jason that's running after you. You know what I mean? He's gonna get you. It doesn't matter how slow he moves. He's methodical, and he was able to bring that. And so I was like, "Yep, done. Let's do it." And so it was fun because then in between takes, he's sitting there being Jason and he's murdering somebody, and then somebody's got to do a stunt, and so he takes the mask off, and you see Skylar's face, and he's smiling, he's just beaming ear to ear, and then he's like helping with the stunts, and somebody's falling and stuff like that. He's like, just make sure you land this way, and he's like, it's just friggin' fantastic. Like, again, we were all in a sandbox that I think we were all pinching ourselves that we were in, and when it came down to it, it was a really fun, and to Ally's point, a very loving set, which is honestly the only way that I like doing my film sets. Like if they're not that way, I don't even want to be involved. Like it has to be a group of people that truly love what they're doing. We all have to be having fun. Granted, there's always complications. There's always stressful moments on a film set. But it's like going to summer camp, man. You hang out with everybody for a few days, or in some points, 20 to 30 days, and you all find things out about each other, and you're there all there for the same reason. You want to make something cool.
Well, and make something cool you all did. I mean, again, I don't mean to keep blowing smoke, but I genuinely mean it. I loved this short. It feels like such a great return to form, so to speak, for this franchise. So Mike, I do want to ask, I mean, at this point, are you hopeful to get to direct a proper full Friday the 13th movie after this?
Well, it's not my decision, but I would say I'd be honored. Let's just put it that way. And I think it'd be one of those kind of dream come true, kind of pinch me things. I think being able just to do this short has honestly, made a checkbox on the bucket list for sure. But yeah, I mean, this is, from just making no budget shorts growing up to some of the features that I've made. Like these are the films that have always kind of resonated in the back of my mind when I'm doing my own stuff, and so to be a part of it in this small form, or moving forward on something bigger, would be incredible.
Well, I hope they give you that opportunity, because I think, with between this and Camp Crystal Lake bringing interest back to this franchise, I'm like, all right, we need someone though like Mike who can give us a mix of new and old that I love to see. So, Ally, I'll turn to you next. I mean, obviously the horror genre is full of the great final girls, and I'm curious for you, did you maybe find inspiration in any one in particular when you were going into this short?
I wouldn't say that I had one in particular. I definitely went back and watched the first 4 Friday the 13th. And I mean, Eve really came from Mike and me. And yeah, I think in a way, unknowingly, I was sort of preparing for this throughout my career with all of the action and all of the horror that I've done and all of the horror that I've watched as a fan. I can't say there was one that I was trying to emulate, but it's an unconscious amalgamation of so many things for sure. Yeah. And my own, emotions always. So, yeah. Well,
I love the take you bring to the character, and I hope that if Mike gets the next one, that you get to be along for the ride. I'd love to see you get. I'd love to see how that fight ends, by the way, at the end. I'm curious if, from both of you, have you talked about how that ends up turning out?
Well, hey, who's to say there's a fight?
Right, exactly. I was going to say.
Who's to say something else doesn't happen there?
Yes.
Like, I mean, who's to say there's not? For me, it's a moment where there might be a little bit more realization than just a quick hop and a step into violence. You know what I mean? Or maybe it starts with violence and then there's a realization. Because let's just be real here. Like when you're watching the short, Jason goes through some things with Eve that, if you're paying attention, he has the moment to offer right there, but he doesn't. And then when he tries to offer, she doesn't get offed. And then she comes back and they're literally staring at each other. And in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, they both know that something's up right now. So, and again, I don't want to spoil too much of what I feel like could happen right after that, but I think there's more than just, we'll call it the Freddy versus Jason sort of duke 'em out kind of thing. I think it goes beyond that. And I think that's ultimately where I think you can make a fun turn within the movies while still keeping true to the source material. And because look, Jason's been through a lot, man. Jason's been wronged a lot. There's a reason why he does what he does, whether you agree with it or not. But he's been given a bad hand in life, and this is how he deals with it. What does it look like when somebody else goes through something similar, and then they realize, holy shit, there are two of us. Now what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? And I don't know. I think there's a lot of fun to be had.
I agree. Ally, did you have anything you wanted to add to the ending there?
No, I think that's perfect.
Well, then I see I have time for one more question. So before I let you both go, Mike, I love that you're also bringing back the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise this year, and so sort of a two-parter. One, what is it like essentially helping revive two iconic horror franchises in one year? But also, what was sort of your big idea, since we talked about finding a way to bring an original take to a formula going into the next Silent Night movie?
Yeah, I mean, with Silent Night, it was also interesting because it wasn't a movie. Well, it's funny. Much like Wrong Turn, when I did Wrong Turn, it wasn't at the time something that I was necessarily looking to do. But when the opportunity came, I was kind of like, okay. And again, I guess sort of a little bit like Jason, the Sweet Revenge as well. It was sort of like, well, how would I do this? And then when you start really thinking about what is my take on this source material? I don't want to just do a rehash of the original because that doesn't serve anyone, honestly. Like, I think as much as people want to see like, oh, what is his version of the original? That's not what's interesting to me. But it was always sort of, for Silent Night, it was finding that balance of how can I make this sort of feel like, bring enough nods, winks, and feeling of what that original movie did, but again, I have to give it my own twist. I have to give it my own story, and that's what excited the producers. And again, yeah, it's something fresh. It's something fun and new, and there's a lot of heart in it, and a lot of axe murder, which is what we're all hoping to see. So yeah, it was again, I think it was just finding that balance of what the original made me feel, but now how do I tell a story that's my own that kind of embodies that.
Well, I love that approach. Again, it worked out marvelously for Sweet Revenge, and I'm sure it's going to do great for Silent Night. So thank you both so much for taking the time to chat with me about this short. I can't wait to get the word out about it, and I hope you all have a great rest of your weeks.
Thank you so
All right,
much.
Kevin.